we completed the whole trading section and we calculated the gross profit. Today, we will continue the same question. We will continue from the gross profit. So my gross profit was 83,152. The next step is to add other incomes. If I have other income, means if I have any incomes other than selling of the goods. So the examples are, for example, rent received. Sometimes I have extra office space or extra space in my factory or building. I can give it on rent. If I am receiving rent, I will be recording it and adding it under the heading of other incomes. So clearly that's a yearly figure, the rent received over 1 year. It will be given in the trial balance. If it's not, we just have to put a 0. So in our question, we don't have any rent received, we will just put a 0. The other example is discount received. This is discount received from the supplier. Though we don't receive any cash, but it's an income. We consider it as an income. If it's in your question, it will be again in the credit balances of your trial balance. In our question, we don't have any discount received, so we'll just put a 0. After discount received, we will look for any interest received. Now, this is basically where we give some loans to someone and we are receiving some interest, or maybe our money is in the bank and we are receiving interest on that. So that's again a yearly amount. If it's given in your trial balance, perfectly fine, you will record it. Always keep these 3 things in your mind, because in most of the questions, if other incomes are given, they will be one of these 3. So if there are no other incomes, fine. You don't even have to write it. You don't even have to put zeros like this, because it will just waste your time. In case if you have other incomes, then we will list all the other incomes on the first column of the income statement. And then as we do, we will total them and write the total on the right column. So this is how we complete the income section, the other income section. The next thing is expenses. We will minus all the operating expenses. When I say operating expenses, they are running expenses of the business. They are day-to-day expenses. So here we are not talking about the purchase of non-current assets, like purchase of machines, motor vehicles, but for sure, we are talking about their maintenance expenses, like salaries expenses or maintenance of motor vehicles, maintenance of buildings, like electricity, like rent. So any expense that is incurred in the running of the business. So let's go ahead and see if we have any operating expenses in our question. You will see salaries as the first expense, operating expense. It's 56527. So I'll just copy and paste it. Salaries, I'll write salaries like this, and then 56,527. So that's my salaries. Brackets represent the subtraction. Okay, I'll go to the question again and see if I have other expenses. Now you can see the whole list. The second expense is motor expenses, and we know that they always have the debit balance. So see, they are on the debit side of the trial balance. Motor expenses are 2,416. I'll go back to my question. I'll record motor expenses and write 2416 in brackets to show that I am going to subtract these expenses. After this, I'll again go to my question. Now, what is the next expense, if anyone can tell me? I recorded salaries, I recorded expenses. Do you see any other expense?
Sir, premises?
Okay, again, yeah, if we write premises, it's again a big mistake, because premises means building. It's the cost of the building. Yes, it is an expense, but it's not a running expense of the business. This is an expense that is not a day-to-day expense. But why did you skip rent? After motor expenses, we had rent. So we will surely write rent here, that is 1,894. So my rent is 1,894. I will go to my income statement. I'll write rent expense, which is 1,894. Brackets again for subtraction. What's next?
Insurance.
Insurance. Insurance is clearly an expense. You have to pay for insurance every year. So every year you have to pay for insurance. Insurance on building, insurance on stock. It can be health insurance of your workers, so all combined. So if you have to pay that yearly, it's your regular expense that you incur to run your business. So I will write insurance, 372. I'll go back to my income statement, write insurance here, 372. So see, these are all examples of operating expenses. Always remember these: salaries, motor expenses, rent, insurance, inshallah, whenever you look at them next time, you will recognize that, okay, fine, these are running expenses. Okay, what's next?
General expenses.
Exactly. So it clearly shows, it's very clear that general expenses, okay, 85. So I'm going to go ahead and write general expenses, put 85 in brackets. Perfect. So up till here, my expenses are finished. Then I have premises. Similarly, when you talk about motor vehicles, so these are known as capital expenses. We never record capital expenses in our income statement, but what we do with them is there is another report for these expenses, and we will discuss it in the next chapter. So when we talk about debtors, they are neither incomes nor expenses. They are just people who owe us money. By the way, this amount, the debtors amount, the amount that customers owe us, which is 26,000, it's included in your sales, and you have already recorded sales. So there is no point of including debtors again. So debtors, they never come in your income statement. Similarly, creditors are the suppliers. We owe them 16,524. This amount is included in purchases when we made the purchases. So there is no point of writing creditors again after the purchases. Remember, we recorded purchases as a part of cost of sales. So creditors, they never appear in the income statement. Similarly, cash is neither an income nor an expense. So cash is just cash we have in our balance. Yes, it might be a result of an income. It might be a result. It might decrease because of an expense. But if we have any cash received from the sales, it's there. It's there in 190,576. We already have recorded that. There is no point of recording cash. The drawings are, they can be cash drawings or can be goods drawings that are already been recorded. A debit entry and the credit entry has been made. Drawings, again, we never record them in the income statement. They are not our expenses. But if there are drawings that are to be adjusted, that are not in the trial balance, but here as there are goods drawings, then we will use it for the cost of sales figure because they have not been adjusted. That's why. And when we talk about capital, is the amount invested. So clearly investment is not an income, neither it's a running expense, so it can never appear in the income statement. So the relevant figures were sales, purchases, salaries, motor expenses, rent, insurance, up till general expenses. That's it. And then we had closing stock. We used all of this information and we have reached to the end. We have almost prepared the income statement. Okay, this is the total of the expenses. That's 61,294. And then I'm gonna just put a line because now I will calculate my net profit. That's my final figure. Net profit is, again, gross profit that I had minus the expenses. This is 21,858. That's